Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome to episode 30 of the Breaking Point podcast. It has been a long time coming, to be honest. It's on so many episodes at this point, but yeah, the 30 bomb has officially been acquired right ahead of the World Championship. Been a very interesting week though, because with the World Championship supposedly coming up pretty much this time next week, still some questions what it's going to look like, whether it's even going to be on, many other questions to dive into as well today with Rostermania, EasyMac and Lionman as well for company. How are we doing, gentlemen? Austin, of course, preparing for champs, I'm sure, very hard indeed. But we're going to talk about some of their, questions, concerns around the whole situation right now.
Yeah, they're still grinding. It's been really busy last week, so just hanging out, doing doing that work and getting ready for champs still.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just going to work and designing shit. And that's
I
me.
respect it. The cards have got to come out, man. That's the way of
Oh,
the world.
that's how they come out, mate. Every time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, okay, fantastic stuff. Let's crack on because, yes, World Championship is coming up next week with any luck. But there was also a World Championship this past weekend. That was the Challengers World Championship and went on in all three regions. We had winners in all three regions. And when we do a bit of a Rostermania preview later in the show, certainly wanting to discuss exactly which of these players might end up finding themselves in there. I wanted to mention actually real quick because I didn't mention it. We're currently live on Twitch. If you guys are watching after the fact on Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff, make sure to set your alarms. Follow us on twitch.tv/GG Breaking Points and get ready for next week's show. But also thanks very much if you're watching on the other platforms as well. We really do appreciate it. It keeps this show ticking over, no doubt. So yeah, first thing I guess to say, Doug St. Martin finished top 16. Not the ideal placement for those guys. Tough to say exactly what happens to Doug going forwards. Charlie dropping an absolute bomb in the chat. Congratulations. Tier 1 subs all across the board. Another 5 bomb. It's just beautiful scenes here in the Twitch chat. But yeah, so Doug finishes out top 16. And then, yeah, I mean, in the APAC region, we have Renegades winning it. Not really a surprise. Atlas Lions win it in Europe, even though pretty crazy run that they had, to be honest, to win it in the grand finals. And it was Mo Hacking and Mohawk. People say Mohawk, right? And Cohen in the North
Mhm.
American region. Yeah, I mean, congratulations to all those gents. A lot of money up for grabs here, right? Because, I mean, I think APAC was maybe 50k for at least the overall prize pool, and then Europe and North America was like 100k a pop. Winners gets 40k, like to 10k each, which is, to be honest, it's pretty good going for Challengers World Championship. And these guys certainly putting their names on the map. I was impressed at the coverage and the excitement around this and the buzz. Not on LAN, of course, a couple of years ago. We used to have these Challenger Champs on LAN at Miami, right, a couple of years ago now. But still exciting nonetheless, Austin.
Yeah, honestly, it was a pretty great weekend for COD. I actually loved watching all the different regions because I haven't been able to watch too much APOC this year. But yeah, I mean, shout out to all the people that cover that. The I Hold Shift and his crew. I know there's just so many people to shout out there. They have so many good people working within helping each other there. And then the challengers Intel, Aisha and all
Previously
them
out there, yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah, they do a crazy good job for the challengers, and well, them it really wouldn't be where it's at right now. So shout out all of them, and obviously the Activision crew, Zeb, and all them that are working for this because they actually did a really good job this year with the format and dealing with online. So I really enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, Challenger's got a lot of room to grow, especially with like the possibility of them being on LAN as well. Like we did see that at the start of the CDC, or not the CDC, the start of the CDL last year. Like what
Hmm.
was the first event that they went to? It was
Minnesota,
London.
right?
Oh yeah,
Isn't it launch
Minnesota.
weekends? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they had a full open event, and then also London, didn't they?
Yeah,
So
did
like
they?
it
Yeah,
looked
yeah, yeah, they did, I think.
I'm
everything looked like going super well when everything was on LAN. And then they've done a pretty good job to like keep online pretty consistent this year. Seeing Renegades win APAC is definitely not a surprise. It's just how it goes in ANZ these days. It's pretty much just Mind Freak. But yeah, pretty good. That's the only challenges I actually watched was the APAC one.
Hot take, online's actually doing like helping out challengers a lot because when you have lands for challengers, you're not going to be able to cover like 1/10 of the matches. You're just not going to see it. You're never going to see it. You're just going to see who's winning. So while LAN is like the best competition, online allows for there to be streams, which gets names out, which gets more eyes on them. So it helps players actually develop and get seen. So having an online league that it has a great format, I think is actually going to be really crucial for the future of challengers.
And to be fair, this format seemed to be cracking because, as far as I could tell, it was basically the old school champs format where you'd have, I mean, what is this? 8 groups of 4. Top 2 make it into the bracket, and then you just do a monstrous bracket. So obviously they understand the value of that type of format for champs. Unfortunately, it's just not what we get in the actual Pro League. But yeah, like it was great to see how that all played out. I've always kind of been critical of these, like, top 2 in the group type stuff, especially online, because there can be some suspect tiebreakers. But looking through some of the right now, most of the groups ended in pretty clear-cut fashion, so didn't have any dodgy tiebreakers. I think you make a really interesting point though about the whole online, that being a benefit to some degree, because certainly I'm sure some of the players don't see it that way when because one of the big question marks, and there's a bit of drama and talk about it, right, is a team like the Professionals with their Methods, Decimate, Slacked and TJ who come top 6 in the North American Champs. And I was watching some of their gameplay. It wasn't the prettiest at times. Let's not beat around the bush there, but it's interesting. Hello, 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 hello. Are we good? Are we back on the stream? We're back. In a cable split? Okay. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. That was they're trying to silence us out here. The I don't know, the CDL got shooters around Omar's
Wait.
house taking out his cables.
Miles
Miles, you
tweeted
still memeing? You better
Yeah.
be.
Wow, he's Mars is out of control, this guy, man. Interrupting the podcast to check out Mars's tweet if he's done one. I don't know
You
if he
better be
has.
memeing, Miles.
I feel like he's memeing, but I don't know. What did he say the other day?
I
Don't
want to
believe
see
anything
you
you
at
see on the
champs.
internet. He better be there. I'll be fuming.
I have
But
to
I'll have
wait a
to see
whole nother
about it.
year
Well,
to see you.
I don't know if he's unreadable though, this guy. I don't know. Maybe we've got the intel, Miles. How do you know we haven't got the intel? Okay, are we good to continue? I don't know where I got to. I was chatting about players. I was chatting about the
Format.
professionals team
Yeah.
and it being online. How much did you guys hear? Did you hear me talking about? I don't know. Where did I get to? I was talking about TJ not playing the best in challenges.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
pretty
what
much
I
what
was
you
getting
got to.
to before I went silent. Okay. All right. I'll just continue from where we left off. So apologies for that. If we did cut anything out of the VOD, it's okay. Some sort of technical difficulties, EU production, you know the drill. But we should be okay. Okay, they didn't hear me roast TJ. That's fine. So what I was essentially saying was the fact that this is online has some benefits. But at the same time, for some of the pros who are still pros, called the professionals in this Challengers Champs, didn't have the greatest result. Methods, Desi, Slackton, TJ. I said that they're certainly players that, if expansion were to come through, or whatever the case may be, or even just next season anyway, they're players that would still be considered right at the top tier of the pro scene, maybe. But just interesting to see a squad like this not have the results that I'm sure they were hoping to have. And is it just a difficult time, right, when you are a pro playing at the highest level, coming down to challenges and keeping that kind of the same grinds mindset that you need up to maintain the high level that all these other guys have that are fighting tooth and nail for a spot? Or is it just the fact that these guys haven't been, aren't quite at that level, right? TJ, I think statistically had a pretty difficult time even since going to challenges. So, don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Austin, but I thought it was interesting because people were certainly memeing on these guys to some degree.
So I think one of the misconceptions with challengers is that it's not the same level as CDL. When the way I look at it is challengers is actually a really high level of play, but it's just the consistency of that level. So the consistency the players are at that high level. And that's why you see like some players come into the league and they don't do too hot and they go back to challengers and they do better there. And some players do better when they're in a more strict team environment. Some play better when they're looser. So like honestly, challenges is pretty much like a little bit lower level than the CDL, but not by much. So when you go down there and maybe they weren't putting in 100%, or maybe they weren't 100% focused practicing twice a day, or maybe the internet is honestly an issue. Who knows? But they obviously didn't perform, and you see that there is a high level talent in the challengers still, and it kind of makes you regret that there's only 48 starting spots. I definitely wish there was some more because I think you're starting to see that there's a lot of players that are knocking at the door and can be in the league pretty soon.
Yeah, it just seems like challenges is just a lot more mixy, so teams can't really go back to a lower category of play and then succeed straight away. Like it's just completely different, and I feel like Austin mentioned it, but it's just a lot less consistent. Players aren't getting the same coaching, putting in the same reps. It's not professional. So I assume when those players go back down there, they don't really, strive to be the best amateur player. I don't know how they would actually think about it, but players like Teach who have been professional for so long, I feel like that must just be a shock to the system going down to that category and then not being like the most dominant player straight away.
Yeah, I wonder what would have happened if like Slasher and Who could have gone down that route where like, what if we saw Hook and Slasher in challenges? Do they get great results? Do they not? Because I wouldn't be surprised if it's something similar to this, just because, I mean, maybe not Hook so much, but Slasher definitely gets in his own head about the online stuff. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he just completely loses full in challenges. So it's good for him that he's good enough and has good enough reputation to stay in the pro league. And we're actually back on land. So well, we'll see. But thankfully that's the case. The final bit I wanted to touch on this is like, which key talents do you think have the best chance of getting called up? Because to me, the North American one is really interesting. Like Spart, especially. I mean, Pro Loot, Mohawk, and Saints, of course. I mean, Saints has been around for years. He was frying. I think he was. Well, there was talk about him getting on Paris if they actually wanted to pay like 10, 25K or whatever it was for his buyout from York the academy over there. Spart, of course, who was in the Los Angeles Guerrillas Academy Los Angeles Guerrillas starting team last year, and since not performing well there, has obviously found himself in a more difficult spot. Got Pro Loot as well. I mean, Mohawk, like he's gone from in the last 24 months, whatever, from basically just being a meme to being what generally looks like one of the best ARs in challenges is very impressive. But then of course you got the other regions, right? And you got all the talent that's over there in Europe, and Vortex having some ridiculous numbers in terms of the amount of prize money he's won and average placing over the last couple of years, and the fact that a lot of his teams have stuck together pretty coherently the last couple of seasons. You got Nasty being voted by pretty much everyone as the MVP of that region. Of course, you've got Pred down in APAC in a similar boat. Talk about him getting in the Pro League. So there's a lot of talent really knocking on the door, as you say, Austin, right? And that's why if you are one of these like former pros in a way, you've really got to be nervous going into next year, because some teams are going to completely rebuild, but others certainly aren't. And maybe they take completely different mindsets this year in terms of how they build their rosters based on some of the difficulties that some of these squads have faced these past couple of seasons.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see as much challenge or talent at the beginning of next year as people think. When you got to look at it logistically, right? So you have 48 starting spots. How many of those starting spots do you think are actually at risk for next season? How many veterans are going to stay? How many new people are going to come up? You could say pretty much all of Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, and Florida are probably going to stay. LAG, probably you'll see a full reset. LA Thieves, all those players will still be in the CDL. For London, you might see one or two of those players dip out. So that's 6 spots already there. Minnesota, they'll all be there. New York, they'll pretty much out of Mac, Hydra, Clay, ASUM. I don't think we'll see Diamond necessarily, maybe, but you'll probably see all 4 of them there. So once you start adding it up, it's probably like 8 spots, right? There's eight spots hypothetically that challengers players can compete for, and it's tough because look, you have Pred and actually a lot of APOC talent over there, right? You have in EU, you have Nasty, you have guys like Gizmo, you guys have Harry, you have Vortex. There's a tremendous amount of talent over there. Then you go to NA, right? Out of the NA elite that I collected, out of the top 6 players for overall and adjusted KD, you have seen Hydra in the league, Paulex in the league, Standy in the league, Venom in the league, and those are the top 4 KDs adjusted wise and overall wise for the entire elite season that I have. The only 2 players you haven't seen are Dav Patty and Gravity. So the problem is you have probably like 20 players, 25 players, because you still got to include Venom, you still got to include Yeez, you still got to include Saints and Fire and Fellow. There's so many. There's probably 30 players, give or take, that are competing for probably 8 spots. So honestly, I kind of laugh at it, but when you see everyone say like this guy deserves to be in the league, this guy deserves to be in the league, and it's like probably like 80 players deserve to be in the league, but there's only 48 spots. And at the end of the day, it sucks. And I hope the league looks at ways to fix that, because I really think a tier 2 league like what we have in the elite, but on a global scale, will really help you know bring players to the next level. Because like right now, what's also tough is you see players playing like Host Wars and whoever has better internet. And lands, as I brought up before, it's kind of hard to see gameplay for lands because not all the matches are streamed. Almost none of the matches are streamed, and none of them are recorded. So you can't see gameplay, right? You can't tell if someone's if they're just kill whoring. You can't tell if they're actually making smart plays on the map. You can't reward players for playing fundamentally correct. So there's a lot of issues logistically for every franchise, and that's what's really an issue getting younger players into the league, and why I really think we need either A, an academy league, or B, a global elite league where you have like 10 to 16 teams there that play on like a CWL style tournament. So we get gameplay and we see them away from the tier 3 scene, I'll call it, and into a true tier 2 scene where they can fully develop.
Yeah, I find like this year recency bias has been such a big part of Call of Duty. Just like instead of picking up players from, have like big reputations, it's all been about well, I can't even hear myself with these headphones. It's all about just like how players have played from tournament to tournament. And so I feel like when players like TJ aren't performing at challenges, it's just a bad look, and they've been picking players like Standy or like Fire from last year, and it's just all been about like KD rather than eye test as well. And so it's all about stats and placement. And so without having like an academy league, like Austin said, you don't really get the opportunity to watch these players in challenges like you would watch or like critique the pro players. And so it's been just a little bit hard. Stat collection's been difficult as well, so we haven't had all the different stats to really like gauge these players on. So it's all really word of mouth and like placement and like KD that's been deciding, these team changes. And so I feel like you have to be prolific in those areas if you really want to make it to the league with the current way that the challenges are set up. And so if you're not performing like Tej, and with recency bias, you're just not going to find your way back in the league after this season, I feel.
Not only that too, but you have like host wars, which you don't know to an extent how much is that playing a
Yeah.
part in, and how will people develop offline, right? Like on land, like how do they different? Because it's just it's literally impossible to tell. You can't tell because one, there's no lands, and when there are lands, it's not recorded. And online up until this year, we really haven't had a chance to watch as like this has been the most amount of amateur film that we've had ever, like in the history of Call of Duty. This is the most we've ever had. People don't really like get that either. It's like it's honestly amazing what Shift in the league has done is they've created so much VOD for organizations to look at. And I just think that we really have to focus on that in the offseason and expand that because that is going to be what keeps the pipeline of talent coming in, right? And people may say like we don't want to lose veterans, right? But some of the biggest storylines this year are all rookies. And the biggest storylines from Modern Warfare, all rookies. Biggest storylines of Black Ops 4, all rookies, right? So having a consistent pipeline of talent is crucial for the success of the CDL in the future. So if not an academy league, you need a global sized elite league. That plays out kind of like the MDL in CS, where you can at least have a regular season, where the league can stream it during the week when there's no professional Call of Duty on. So we at least get VOD and we at least can watch players because that is the most crucial thing that we've been missing for years that we finally got this year. And I think we just really have to hammer that home and expand on that as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, agreed. I'd be really interested to see what would happen if they just said, look, every single team has to have an academy squad. Because I think Drill was talking that he's heard more rumors of like more academy teams this upcoming season than we've had in previous years. I guess last year was what? I mean, LAG Academy still exists, New York Academy. I don't know if there was anything outside of that, to be
FaZe.
honest. But
We
yeah,
had
okay,
one
yeah,
last year.
FaZe in the first year, yeah, exactly. So there's been some here or there. I know that Hex has said that like if they were to mandate it or like he would go down the route of picking up a load of guys like Mental, right, that are coming over from other esports and have names and talents and exposure and this type of stuff to keep eyeballs on that scene. If but like, he doesn't see the return on investment if he's not forced to do it. So that would be interesting to see. I don't know if it's something that necessarily happens this year, but that'd be fantastic to keep your eyes on, right? And then he could have Doug in an actual league, and then he could win champs, maybe. So
Oh,
What people don't think about either is so in CS, like how lower tier orgs made money is they would sell off future talent into the top level teams, and they would have a buyout, make money off of that, right? Like, I think what is pretty important is we need more trade assets for teams, right? So if let's say if somebody wanted to get a player off of Team Y, right, and that player is under contract for them, right? The only way to get him is to buy him out right now. But what if you could trade two of your academy players for that player and some cash, right? So you need more poker chips that we don't really have right now in the league. And I also think if we could get orgs like Elevate and get orgs like like a Gen G, like get more big orgs that aren't in the franchising system right now and allow them to be in that tier 2 league, will one get more eyes on the league and two bring in more talent and more money into that tier 2 pipeline. So I think that's also a conversation that needs to be had.
absolutely. I mean, if you have anything else to add, line, feel free.
I was just gonna ask, like, do you think, imagine having, how there's the NBA draft, having the CDL draft,
Oh
where
my
it's like
God.
new players who haven't been in the league, you could like pick them, and so like you could actually use
That's
picks
cool.
as well to do trades, just like sports. So like you could trade like a substitute and a second round pick and get like, I don't know, another good piece for your roster.
Doug.
But
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
actually
I
like
mean,
the idea of trading.
That'd be so cool.
Isn't the only trade ever gunless for Pristini?
No,
Uh,
because
And
he
then
wasn't traded.
he wasn't traded, no.
He
I
was
mean,
bought
who was
out.
what a
traded?
No,
Gunners for Clayster, right? Back in
Oh,
United
that's phase. That's
days.
that's different.
That was
That's a long
was
time
that a
ago.
trade? That was a long
Talking
time
like
ago, a long time
CDL.
ago. Yeah,
That
yeah.
was
I don't
just
think there's been one
yeah.
in CDL.
You just because there's so much talent right now that's just unsigned. Like you have always like Triumph who are signing young talent, and like what they did with Standy is they tried to sell him to organizations at the beginning of the year, and that I think is healthy. I think that's actually healthy for the scene, and I definitely think we need academy teams just for that poker chips for trades, and I think it would force organizations to actually scout and create like imagine if Seattle had to have an academy team this year, right? They would have players. It wouldn't be we couldn't make a move because we can't. We don't have the money. You could just say, what about your academy team, right? So what if you scouted better in your academy team? What if you had XYZ player on the academy team? So that was something that like we were looking at even last year. Like our academy team last year was Paul X, Venom, um, we Gravity, Journey. Like we had a crazy talent. Sib, like Sib's still on the team now. Like we had incredible talent that we all scouted for the purpose of trying to get them in the league in the future. So I think that's like something that doesn't get talked about enough with the CDL.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, wow, what a topic that ended up being. But we've still got a lot to cover and some Chrome bombs hitting the timeline as well. We're going to dive into here in a second. Firstly, we've got to discuss the whole Clayster stuff because been a very interesting week on that side. There's been rumours left, right, and centre that Clayster, because of course he steps out before the Stage 5 major, goes on holiday for a bit, comes back earlier this week, seems to be in a much better mental health state, which is obviously fantastic to see. Then there's talk coming out. Crone's like, yeah, I heard that he was scrimming with the team. We've got the CDL putting this graphic out on their Instagram, which has like the 4-man squad with Clayster in instead of Diamond Con. Is that just like an old graphic, or is that actually the one? Is that the team they're going for? Have they like kind of leaked the return? I don't really know. But if Clayster has indeed been scrimming with them, we saw him playing eights as well. Seems like he's ready to come back at the very least. Do they want him back? Will they let him play? That is, of course, another question. Will they improve? Is another question. And like, I guess, yeah, from my perspective, having Clay in the team gives you your best possible chance to actually win the thing. Which is, of course, the goal at the end of the day. Like, I just can't see the team with Diamond Con winning the entire thing. Whereas with a Clayster, with a Clayster, but the Clayster, there's an off chance it happens. As unlikely as it might be. It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's no hurry technically for them to announce it, but it seems more and more likely by the day that Clayster will find his way back into this team, just because of how active he's been on social media. That usually indicates that something is going on all right. I don't know what you think, Austin.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. The only like right now, the only two teams we don't scrim are Chicago and New York because they're the only teams that we could
Mm.
face. So I honestly I have no insight on him coming back or not. But look, I think Clayster was just in a bad mental spot. He needed the reset. Um, I don't think he would miss a chance to go back to back to back. As I said last week, I don't think he would miss a chance to play in a multi-million-dollar tournament. Um, but I think it's a very confusing dynamic. I don't know how it's going to go. I really I would not want to be in that camp because you're gonna have to make it tough calls all around. So if he does come back, look, Clay is one of the best leaders in the CDL in the history of Call of Duty. He is honestly he's been one of the top ARs all season. So I think it's a very different New York team in what you're getting if you have Diamond or if you have Clay. So um, if he comes back, honestly, they're dark horse to win the tournament. I would say. I think they would be because you got to think about it, there's no film on them. You got a rejuvenated Clay. You got a hungry young team. So they would probably be my dark horse. If he doesn't come back, they have a tough road ahead of them. But they could still. We saw it last week. They could heat up and make plays. So whatever team we do get out of New York is honestly, I just hope they hit stride within the next like 2 weeks and do well at champs.
You're on mute line, I think. There's some tripping.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Because they're still the fifth seed.
Yeah,
Is that
they'll
correct?
they'll
Yeah.
play Chicago round one.
Yeah. So if they come back, or if Clay comes back and they suddenly find the exact same groove that we're in around stage 3, there is no reason why they couldn't be, dark horse to win. But I was going to touch on the Clay graphic. Would it really surprise you if the league did that on accident? Like, just
It's
because they always
possible.
seem to, because they, and not actually thought about it and being like, oh, wait, Clay isn't in the league. I
Oh
think
no,
that's
but it's
just as
public now.
possible,
We've got to leave
if not more possible,
it.
than him
It's very
being back in
possible.
the league. So I don't know, but I would love to see him back because this year he did look really good for the first 6 months or so, and he just might have needed a mental break because he's a 30-year-old man.
It's a good point. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be good to see him back. I mean, by this time next week, we should know at the very least. Also, one thing we will know this time next week is actually what's going on with champs. These past few days have been a bit of a minefield, and we're hearing things, rumors coming out as we record the show onto exactly what might be happening. Because as far as my perspective is, as no news from the CDL is good news in the sense that if they are going to make a pretty drastic call, like getting rid of fans or going online or whatever, we'll talk about some of the options here in a second. Then, like, they've got to do it quickly, right? You can't just leave these things to the last minute. So every day of these last few days that nothing's been announced has been more and more positive from my perspective. So anyway, to just give you the rundown, a few days ago, Scump and Envoy come out and say, well, initially it was Crone saying, yeah, a lot of players tested positive for COVID-19 after the Stage 5 major. Now, some players were, let's just say, not necessarily taking whatever precautions particularly seriously. We did discuss that last week. Guess what happened? And for some players may well have been, the likes of Scump and Envoy and the FaZe guys, like they were not messing with any of the fans in the venue, but you know how it is, right? Sunday night at an event, you go back to the hotel bar, there's a lot of people there, like, maybe not ideal. Whatever. Methods, Temp, and Joey Nubsy also supposedly got the thing as well. So difficult spot. Obviously, hope everyone's okay. The concern is that Champs is still going on. 19th of August it begins. I don't know how long it takes after you've let's say you've got COVID, you've recovered, you're absolutely fine. I don't know how long it is after that
10 days.
happens to when you start testing negative. Okay, 10 days ish. So that's not that's not great. So there you go, right? Like if you're gonna, I think you've got to do like 2 negative tests or something in a row so you can get cleared. So that is a concern. Like there's a few questions here. I guess the first one, like, would they force teams to use substitutes if they had to? Because it seems like the event, yep, that's the weekend, that's how it is. My thought was like, just because it's the OpTic guys, like they might try and think, okay, well, hang on a second. If Scump isn't playing at Champs, it's like bloody hell. Here we go. I guess another option would be to delay the event, but or have it without fans and have like very limited staff at the event. We're hearing from Crone just a few minutes ago that rumors are saying at the present time, and sources say that it will be going ahead as planned with fans, with LAN still going on the dates. So that is obviously good news, I think. But it still remains to be confirmed, at least as of we're speaking right now. So chaos on Eos over this the last few days. Maybe it's going to get resolved with some announcement soon.
Yeah, something people have to think about too is it's going to be in LA in the venue. Like you can't really move a venue. Like when you rent it out, you're renting out a open spot and it's a lot of money. So it's not as easy as like let's push it back a week, right? It's really
Yeah.
it's really not that easy. So there's not many options. And most of them are going to be bad in some way. You're giving and taking. So uh, hopefully the league makes a good call. I definitely hope that we see way tighter restrictions for crowd and players and like just everyone involved, honestly. So there's just no issues because I can't believe that we were so lucky that nothing happened in the two lands. Like when you look at the odds are that at least one person would have an issue, and we have made it clean. I'm gonna knock on wood, but we've made it clean for two lands. And for someone, if someone can't make it to this land, or if someone gets sick at this land, I would be so upset for them because it's the biggest one this year, and it's champs, it's playoffs, it's a multi-million-dollar tournament. So I definitely hope they are way tighter on fans this time around. I hope they're way tighter on what the players and coaches and staffs and even content In family, I see a lot of people saying like the fans, but you also got to think your family. Like you can't have your family going out and doing stuff and then being around you because you're just as much at risk. So there's just a lot of variables. And I just hope if everything goes along as planned, we are just everyone's on the same page and we do this just as safe as possible and just put on the best show as possible too. So it's tricky.
How different are the COVID restrictions in California as opposed to Texas?
Night and day.
Yeah. So will that be a positive, do you think, for the event?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
That
heard
event was a
obviously,
minefield, man.
yeah. Obviously, I heard Scum and Envoy got COVID, but did any other players get COVID?
Um,
None that I've confirmed,
temp,
but
temp and
Temp and
methods.
yeah.
Methods
Um,
wasn't even playing.
yeah, I know.
It
But
just rocks up, gets COVID.
yeah, they're obviously some big name players. And with champs, 3 weeks after stage five, I was very nervous, honestly, going out of stage five because one person gets sick, and if they go around somebody else and it just starts spreading within those 3 weeks, you're done. So I was very nervous going into that stage five and like getting out of it, and then going in the champs just 3 weeks later. And again, I really hope that it goes on and there's just really tight restrictions, as bad as that may sound for fans, but I hope it's super tight restrictions for fans to get in the venue and be in the venue. And I just hope it's really tight restrictions on the players until Sunday night, right? Until the tournament's over, right? So yeah, that's just where my head's at with all of it.
I think it's what we like. That's just what we need to, because the last thing we want is some of these teams not to be able to play on championship Saturday, Sunday, because some players got ill, and of course, if one player gets ill, there's obviously a pretty good chance that somebody else on the team is going to be ill, and could be a disaster. As you say, if anything, we're kind of lucky that hasn't happened already, because some of the footage I was seeing, like, it was good to see things back to normal, but it was also like, okay, so we've got these rooms at the Arlington event, and just everyone's just piling in. Like, it doesn't matter. Zuma's just going to rock up. He's going to do some content in the room. He's going to just head back and do whatever with some other people. Like, it just kind of struck me as kind of odd there. People just heading around through the venue, not a care in the world. You've got like, I know Hex even had some of the rocker guys like the Diamond Sotor, those guys like came in for who did like the Eavesdrop podcast or whatever inside their room, and I was like, okay, well, like I'm kind of surprised that people could just go wherever they want apparently, and obviously the fan stuff wasn't so restricted. And this is the thing that Chrome was just saying here is that well, supposedly, at least rumor has it right now, that fans will have to actually show a negative test result, which seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me. They're like, okay, to get in the venue, you've got to have a negative test result. Seems to make sense, but clearly wasn't the case before. So seems like already that some maybe more intelligent restrictions are coming into play. Because yes, we want people to have a good time, but we also have to make sure the show goes on, right? And right now, there's a situation in the world doesn't make it so easy. So we've got to be careful. So maybe good news, Austin, on that front.
Yeah, I would add temperature checks for people coming in too. Just do as much as you can to make it the environment is safe for the players. Because just imagine if again, knock on wood, but if anyone does get sick, it's an instant asterisk on the event, and it's instantly just takes away from everything. So just as much as it sucks, and as for fans and everything, be as restrictive as you can, and do as much as you can, and do as much restrictions and make everything in place for the players as you can, so we can just go on and just have a great weekend.
I would just hate if we get another event like Stage 4 where it's LAN without any fans, because Stage 5 just showed how much better it is with that atmosphere. Especially with the OpTic fans, it's just those matches go crazy. So without the fans, it wouldn't be the same at all. So yeah, make it
Agreed.
safe. The point.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think the priority, it's interesting. Like, if the priority has to be to have it on LAN at least, like however you can possibly do that, that's just got to be the case. That would just be absolutely terrible if that wasn't the case. So yeah, and if you can keep fans, fantastic. But yeah, we gotta see what happens. And then Sunday night, like if people want to go rogue, they can go rogue. Whatever's possible to do in California
After
right now.
event, you're free. Do whatever you want. There's no events after.
Yeah.
do what you want. But during the event, It's game time. It's your job. We're working. Do what you got to do, right? Do what you got to do. Get out of there, right?
Yep.
That's the motto for the weekend.
One thing, Dad, actually, stage 5, there was just fans Saturday, Sunday. Champs, are they there every day? I think they are, right?
I
So
think so.
Oh no.
I think there's tickets every day. Um, so like I'm just saying, people got to be more careful because if let's say you went into the crowd on Saturday and you got it, maybe you wouldn't be showing up in the test in time for Sunday morning when you have to prove. So, but like if the same thing happened on Thursday, then by the time it gets to Saturday, Sunday, you're definitely going to be showing up positive, right? So,
I've just realized that will be the first time that fans can watch group play since 2016.
wow. Wait,
Because
We didn't get any Black Ops
figure that
4.
out?
Black Ops 4. Oh no, the first day wasn't. Oh yeah, so it's the first time the first day has had fans since 2015. Yeah,
Oh, what do you mean? Like, but
as in the
Black Ops
first day
4
of
events
group
are
play.
3 days, no?
No, but the first day we
Oh,
couldn't
you mean
watch
the
the matches.
champs?
Yeah, champs.
Oh, I see. Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Sorry, I'm
Huh.
Yeah.
delusional.
So since
Yeah,
before the
first day
CDL,
at champs.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
2016 I went to champs, I couldn't watch day one. 2017 it was in that venue thing where like formal was getting piped up and stuff. 2018 was when OpTic got kicked out before the fans. 2019 we didn't get to watch. 2020 was online.
Yeah, that's
Black
right,
Ops 4. We
actually.
didn't get fans that first day.
No, not bro. I tried getting in the venue. We didn't.
Is it they were
Yeah,
what,
no,
5K events or
I do
yeah, they
remember
were.
it was in that back room with
Yeah,
yeah.
Wow, well,
Wow,
there you go.
that's actually insane.
yeah. Since AW, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, it's a throwback, man. Well, we're bringing it back. I heard people saying bring back jetpacks. That was a talking point this week. So,
Oh, bro. Wait,
we're
bro. If they gave us the full 180 and went like it's not Vanguard, it's actually a W2, I might shit myself, dude.
I
That
wouldn't
would
blame
be
you.
unbelievable.
People would be hyped. Like,
Like it would be
there's
the
no doubt.
ultimate, like perfect bait and switch. Like, bro,
I
because
don't know
everyone
if
would
they're
be hyped
being
because
switched
everyone's
this. We'll
already
see.
pissed. Everyone's already
I'm
pissed
gonna
about World War
I'm gonna
II.
break your dreams, but
I know it's
with
not.
Warzone, no, but with Warzone
It's not
though,
gonna happen
I
soon.
feel like we have to have the same engine for Warzone and for competitive to have any chance to grow and for players to
True.
grow their brands. So unless like fingers, if we ever got a jetpacks
I was gonna say
VR
Warzone does
like what we
jetpacks.
got,
Yeah.
I would that would be insane because
Like,
the Black Ops 4
yeah,
version
yeah,
was
Blackout or
so
whatever.
much fun. It was
yeah. It
Yeah.
they
was
had
so.
a at the end of the year they turned it into jetpacks. It was Black Ops 3 jetpacks and
Yeah.
it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was
So
to watch as well, dude. And no other game does that. Like has a BR with jetpacks. So like maybe that's the key for COD.
It's the key. It's absolutely
Jetpacks, mate.
facts.
Who would have thought?
They
Far
could
out.
have go back at some point though. That's the thing. Like that's the boomerang, right? It's
Yeah,
like fashion trends and stuff. Like everything comes back in fashion. Maybe we did 1 year too many of jetpacks because people got really annoyed a bit by Infinite Warfare.
yeah.
But
I reckon
like,
two.
throw in 2 years of jetpacks every like 5 years, every 6 years, people are gonna love it. I'm telling you. If you
Mm,
listen to Activision, this is why the Breaking Point podcast is the go-to.
yeah.
I guess speaking of CDL from like a higher level, actually, there was some interesting talk about due to the whole sexual harassment, workplace harassment lawsuit going on right now with the California state government having an Activision Blizzard. Pretty remarkable circumstances there, no doubt. Now we've got sponsors; they're starting to pull out of the CDL. We've got T-Mobile seemingly stepping away, even though no announcement has been made. But T-Mobile not really seeming to be on the stream anymore.
Mm,
The Overwatch League has seemingly been completely gutted. Like wasn't really quite aware of how many like super high level big dog sponsors they had that have a lot of them have just dipped. Now, obviously, that's not a good look. There was some rumors today that like something might be going on with the Overwatch League, some sort of like hiatus, even though there's been some talk after that saying, okay, maybe that report wasn't completely accurate. But whatever the case may be, the Overwatch League is not in a good spot, as I think a lot of us probably would have predicted a couple of years ago, to be quite honest. But if that, let's say, like that spells the death of the Overwatch League or whatever in the next couple of years, like that's obviously not good for the CDL. Even if the CDL is much more robust and we have a new game every year and there's better storylines and all this, it's like, from my perspective, it just could send shockwaves to some degree through the industry, the potential for profitability, and these types of questions that potential investors getting into the CDL might be concerned about. So I don't really know what happens there, but there's just been some talk from like the really high end perspective on these leagues the last couple of weeks that maybe isn't putting these leagues that Activision have in the greatest spot right now with everything else that's going on in the scene, Austin. Somewhat tough to say though.
Yeah, I was reading that Overwatch one. I think that had more to do with Overwatch 2 than like any of the lawsuit things. It's still not a good look either way. I'm more bullish on CDL than OWL anyways, just because I feel like our game is a little bit easier to watch, and I still feel like once lands are back, I think the environment that we have is better. So I do think as long as the next game is good, I think no matter what happens to Owl, we can still survive and keep improving too. So there's a lot more avenues for us to go for success than there is for Owl, for instance.
Yeah, I feel like the CDL is lucky that we have players that have like such big brands that we don't really need. We don't rely strictly on the game or the game being like super topical. Like because Overwatch when it first came out and when the league first came out, it was massive. The numbers they were pulling were ridiculous. It was like 200K per like certain match, and like yeah, the COD League doesn't reach that, but we've been consistently around like 50 to 100K for like the last 8 years, if not like a little bit more. And so I feel like having the personalities that we have in the league gives us a lot more stability. And obviously, you say the ability to watch, it's less frantic, there's less things going on. And so you can kind of read the game better. But yeah, I was going to think of something else to say, but someone else continue while I catch my train of thought.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also more to where like if PvP isn't working for Call of Duty, then you have Warzone, and you have more ways. Like Call of Duty is more than just PvP, so there's more avenues. Whereas in Overwatch, if PvP isn't doing good, like what else is there? And I know like our YouTube and Twitter and socials are just really good. So there's a lot there's a lot with Call of Duty on the outsides that makes it look like it should be better than what it is currently. I'll put it like that, I guess. And in the current meta of co-streaming, I think that Call of Duty is in way better position for co-streaming than Overwatch is. When you think about it from FaZe, just from our point of view, right? Think of all the personalities in FaZe that are Warzone content creators and huge just personalities in not only esports but this culture right now. Think of OpTic. Think of even if Scump or Formal, or just think of Hex co-streaming or like anyone like that. Huge. Envy, huge. Rec, you have Vixar, instant EU success right there. If we ever get like the Heretics in, they have some of the biggest streamers in Europe
Oh my
that
God,
has
yeah.
ever. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. So, when looking at it, I think we are in a much better position to be um, at a higher level in 3 years than I think Overwatch, and that might just be me being like one way or the other. But I do think once we get some co-streaming, once we work out the lands, once we work out, the broadcast definitely has to be revamped and improved. But when you look at it from like Valorant, like the main stream of Valorant only gets like 50K views, right? Like it's not our main stream gets the same amount of views as they do. But the co-streaming is where you start piling it and piling it and piling it. And I think we have more personalities and bigger orgs and bigger, people around Call of Duty just because we have Warzone and other avenues in Call of Duty that we could definitely be in like one of the best esports out there within the next 3 years if we do co-streaming and everything else correctly. So I always say to people is just give it time, let it develop. And we still, franchising. This is the worst of franchising because online and everything, and we're still improving day by day. So just imagine it at franchising at its best, which I know it's hard to imagine, but we could be in an excellent place in like 3 years. You just got to hope that the people that are running things, which there are actually a ton of great people running it that just are in the shadows. You don't really see them a lot, but there are a ton of great people running it that are very smart from traditional sports. So I am very optimistic about the future of Call of Duty, honestly.
That's good, Omar. All good, all
I was
good.
gonna say, imagine if COD, you know how Fortnite used to do like events, like random events, like pop-up ones, like Travis Scott. Imagine if Warzone had
That
like
stuff was crazy,
what
man.
the COD League final in the stadium with like 200 other people.
Man,
I-
easy. This is the stuff, man. This is why Fortnite
Crossover.
are killing it, man. Because Fortnite, what they do over there, like I don't play Fortnite anymore. It used to be fun in season 2, season 3, back in the good old days. But they are pushing the boat out every single day with what they're doing in their battle royale. It's really impressive, and I'm sure we could do some similar things. And yeah, I'm confident, I'm optimistic. I'm certainly optimistic just because Call of Duty as a franchise has so much more cultural power than so many other games. Overwatch, because Overwatch seemed like designed to be an esport through and through, kind of didn't have too much going on, but people were interested early on. But if people start playing other games, like like it's all going downhill. Whereas Call of Duty's always going to be there or thereabouts, has been for 15 years, so it's not going anywhere. And it's probably more culturally powerful now than it has ever been, as long as they do their best to fix Warzone, basically.
People are afraid of Warzone too, and I think you should be the opposite. You should want Warzone to be at the highest level ever, so when we do get co-streaming, just Warzone will just drag us up, right? So like,
Yeah,
we need
they go
everything
hand in
in Call of
hand.
Duty. Yeah, and even
Yeah,
zombies too. Like everything in Call of Duty, if it's clicking and it's at that high level, the better we are going to be as a whole.
yeah.
That's how we got to look at it. We're all in it together.
How like algorithms work on YouTube as well. If like Call of Duty's trending, other things within Call of Duty are also going to trend, like TacticalRab videos.
Wow, what about
Wow,
that? Yeah, get me on training, baby.
Wow.
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 I mean, I was even just thinking when you said that, Austin, about like COD Mobile, because I get some people. There's been like a couple of videos I've done that have talked about some COD Mobile related stuff, and people have been really interested in that. And well, not that many people, but some people have been interested and been engaged. And actually, when I was working at Intel, I used to play that a bit in my lunch break, and it was not bad. So, you know, it's just these types of things. And also the game, COD Mobile, is actually so good. Like it has a ranked system that worked. It is better than our league play. It has all the classic maps, all the classic guns. It's like plug that into, I don't know, an iPad, stick a controller in and get the pros playing that for like, I don't know, some sort of post-season
Cross
event or something. I
promotional.
don't know.
You just need to start blending everything together. At the end of the day, it's the best way
Mobile's
to do
killing
it.
it in so many countries, so many territories. Like it's building up
Yeah.
Call of Duty fans in these areas. Like the potential is absolutely enormous, and they're killing it on so many fronts right now. But the CDL front is yet to be guaranteed. But I'm still optimistic. Obviously, I guess we're biased here in the call, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you think World Series of Warzone will have like a really big place during the CDL off season? Or
Yes.
like do you think the potential? Yeah.
Yes, and I think that is going to be the best thing for Call of Duty in a while because it's just all about cross pollination. And when you get pro players, because I'm a firm believer that if a pro player retired tomorrow, it would be the walk in the war zone with like a couple weeks practice and just start. It would just click right away, and you would just the best players in Call of Duty are in the CDL, and I'm not taking away from the Warzone players because they are also disgusting, but they would instantly the pros would be on level with them pretty quickly, and it's just the cross pollination and the fan bases. Like once they start seeing the personalities of some of these CDL players, they start attaching to them, and the next thing you know, even if it's like 100 fans to see some players and go, "What is the CDL?" and go and check it out. Maybe 10 of them stick, right? And just imagine that over the course of an entire season, and we start growing the fan base, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's bang on. I mean, I completely agree. I think on that front as well, World Series of Warzone, that's the thing because so many people came into COD back in Black Ops 2 days, including myself, just watching Sculpt's YouTube videos. Like, wow, this guy's really good at COD. This is really fun. I play Black Ops 2 as well. Oh, he's doing a post-event vlog. What is this? Like, he's just gone to an event. Oh, he's on OpTic. Like, what's going on there? Okay, let me look it up. I guess I'll follow him on Twitter. And this kind of happens. And it's that type of stuff that also could be replicated very nicely in Warzone. Like if Scum actually goes in the off season, plays a load of Warzone, makes a load of banging YouTube content on it, like all of a sudden you're looking at the very similar thing happening again, which is great because our pros have such great personalities that seeing them reach that, because that's like the casual competitive audience or the casual COD audience is now just Warzone, basically, which is, well, it's not exactly so easy to define, but they love Call of Duty as well. Next year's game is apparently going to be very similar in terms of playstyle and movement and all this type of stuff to Warzone, which is understandable and makes sense. So there's a lot of reasons going for the fact that we can have a potentially massive crossover, which is exciting, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if any final thoughts or we can move on because great discussion, I think, gentlemen. Did want to say expansion. If it does happen, we don't think it's going to happen this year, but maybe it does. We don't really know. If it doesn't, then regardless, if it does happen, what cities do we think we should go for? Because there was some discussion a couple of days ago from Hex on Marky B Eavesdrop podcast, and he was discussing that when he initially came in as Huntsman last year, he wanted the Las Vegas spot. But the CDL said, look, no, you can't have it. You've got to have some other one. And eventually they settled on Chicago, which, maybe Chicago Huntsman sounds better than Las Vegas Huntsman looking back at it, but whatever. And yes, so Las Vegas apparently is being reserved for whatever reason. Now, I don't know what that would be a reason for, other than if there's some other big organization. Because I heard before the CDL even began that there were some big orgs contemplating getting a spot, but weren't convinced and were going to bide their time. So maybe some like massive org, like a Cloud9, a TSM, one of these type big dogs has just come in and said, yeah, look, we're interested, but just give it a couple of seasons until he goes ready to expand. We want to see how it goes, but let's just reserve this spot for me and I'll be there, when expansion arrives. I don't know. But that's a question. So Las Vegas clearly a spot that they want to expand into. But outside of that, I think certainly you've got to go down the Madrid route if you're going to expand that side. But do you decide to prioritize European expansion in the hope that maybe you actually build out a separate league, or do you then go down to some bigger North American cities? It's interesting what direction they would go to if, let's say out of nowhere, okay, yeah, we're expanding by 4 teams all of a sudden. Where are those 4, Austin?
If I had to guess right now, I think Madrid, obviously Heretics. At the time, you remember the owner were tweeting like the percentages of that they had a spot and they got all the way up to
I
like
forgot about
90.
that.
So
That was sad.
I think Heretics are a shoe-in. I think they have a lot of again, when you go look at co-streaming, they have probably the most potential to grow in Europe that any organization has. Maybe like G2's up there too, but both of them are up there. Honestly, I feel like they're gonna look more towards NA than EU or APAC. Just the fact that the league is NA based. So I would say probably Boston, Washington DC, and Philly.
Vancouver.
Vancouver you can't have.
Why?
Seattle.
What?
These franchise spots have regions. It's not just a
Oh
city;
yeah,
it's a
it's
Oh.
region.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and with Seattle, they own the Vancouver Overwatch team, and so they have like that region.
That's a
Um,
piss take.
it is what it is, because with regionality, like the point of this is to grow the regions. So you gotta there's a give and take with that. But I do think Philly, you have the Philly team in Overwatch. They're building an actual insane stadium. I do see them crossing over to CDL eventually. Boston is owned by Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots. I do feel like eventually, again, that crossover is going to happen. DC, they've already there was interest. I think there was articles that came out and said there was interest for the Washington DC. The owners like Call of Duty, so I feel like again crossover there. One odd pick I'll say is Tokyo.
Oh my God,
I
that'd be bang.
I do think like Sydney deserves one, but I just don't know if there's any orgs in Sydney or Australia
In
that have
Melbourne.
the but is there any orgs out there that would have the money to buy like a
Oh
spot
no.
there? So that's the issue. And it sucks. But
Better start saving up, line.
I do think
Huh?
Tokyo.
Better start saving up so you can
Oh yeah, no, I got you. I
cash
got
in,
you.
yeah.
I do think Tokyo is a sleeper pick because there is a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 league in Tokyo that is really good, honestly. I've watched a lot of it lately, and mobile gamings are huge. So there is a lot of first person shooter games in China, in the Asian region. So I do feel like if this, and you got to think Owl is majority Asian in the Asian market. I do feel like it is a pretty big opportunity to expand your fan base if they do Tokyo and try to reach into the mobile gaming and like the first person shooter markets over there that they definitely could. Same with like Apex Legends is doing that right now in Japan. So definitely think that is a strong possibility for the future.
Yeah, because there's a lot of untapped regions, especially like the Asian market within the league. There are no teams from that region. How do you think, with COVID restrictions, do you think that they could come live in the US and compete?
Oh yeah, yeah,
I guess
definitely.
they figure out a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're a couple years away from having the lands at each like city. I think that it maybe like one or two, but I mean, I still think we're a little bit away from that right now. But I feel like in the future that will be that. But I do think for the next like year or two, maybe we'll have teams in the U.S. competing like that, and then like working on growing the markets from there. But I definitely
Yeah.
think having more markets outside of the U.S. Is only a good thing for Call of Duty, and it's something 100% need to be targeting. Like we don't necessarily need to be targeting NA. We need to be targeting global, grow out that fan base. So EU, the Middle East, even Africa, APAC, Asia, like those are where we need to look at. But we also don't want franchises to be like it. We don't want it to be weird. We don't want it to be like all NA and then you just got this random team over in Asia, or this random team way over here, right? You want to have it all cohesively look good. So I think you just have to take it easy, do it the right way, don't rush it so it doesn't look weird. But yeah, I definitely think the CDL will definitely be looking at different markets and how to do that correctly.
Hmm.
I think like another reason you didn't exactly mention would be something in the South American side because we saw they do an awesome championship
100%.
recently. I mean, you're looking at like some of the, I know there's been some decent Brazilian players. Like that
Brazilian
region
team.
is pretty into cards. I think there's a good room, and it's a logical expansion to bring in a Brazilian team at some point or another. And I mean, I don't know. Obviously, they're fans. You're absolutely wild for CS. Some of the most passionate esports fans, for good and for bad at times, in the entirety of esports. So could be a welcome addition to the COD scene if they can make it work. But as you say, like you want it to be natural rather than just okay, yeah, we're gonna do
Forced.
a Sao Paulo team, and yeah, but there's going to be no Brazilians because
Yeah,
there's no one at that level yet. So it's like,
it's all
kind of
Americans.
what's the point? It's all Americans on the team, but you can
Yeah,
cheer
it's
for them anyway
Tej.
if you're Brazilians. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
See, that's the thing that's weird is like you gotta have I think you gotta have like like 20 teams. Imagine if there's 20 teams and one of those teams is Brazilian, or if you have like 12 teams and one of them is Brazilian and they want all Brazilian players, it looks weird, right? Like and then you think like maybe that one team's gonna be below the pack. And so like if there's more teams, if there's like 20, 24, if we start expanding and having like big tournaments and stuff like that, like I picture the CDL in like 10 years as like a circus that just goes around from city to city and just tries, attracting fans that way. I think then it gives you a cushion to enter different regions and have that region be like have like an Australian team that's only Australian players, have an Asian team that's only Asian players, have a Brazilian team only Brazilian players, Argentina, Colombia. There's a lot of South American teams. There's just so many regions you can hit when you go down that route.
well, there we have it. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a big announcement just come through from the COD League. 3 minutes ago, the COD League say this as follows: announcement with regard to the World Championship. Call of Duty League has the best fans in the world, and we know you've been waiting to see your favourite teams and players return to the main stage. Our top priority is the health and safety of our fans, staff, and players. With the rising rate of COVID-19 cases in Los Angeles County, we are enhancing our safety measures for the Call of Duty League Championship weekends. Effective immediately, all attendees will be required to show proof of vaccination or, if not fully vaccinated, a negative PCR or antigen test received within 72 hours of the date of your attendance. All attendees must wear a mask during the event, regardless of vaccination status. For more details, etc., it's going on as normal, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you soon, but with restrictions in place. Cool to see. Kind of good timing, really. Given we talked about it earlier in the show, Austin. Kind of nailed this one. But yeah, fantastic to do it at this time, so we can talk about this live. I guess I did want to talk about, I guess, just before we end, because we're pretty much at the hour mark, with regard to next year's COD, because there was a fair bit of leakage that came out today with regard to what it might look like, in terms of, well, a lot of people saying some really positive things, which I must say is rare. Usually it's the developing studio saying, yeah, this game's going to be absolutely unbelievable, and maybe it doesn't turn out that way. But it seems a lot of people are saying right now they're very excited about it. I mean, there was rumors that there was like 24 maps coming out at launch, 12 of them being 6v6, which is already very promising. And yeah, a lot of talk from some of the people who know stuff behind the scenes about how confident they are that this year is going to be a great game for for everyone involved, which is obviously great to see. I don't know if you have a particular wish list, guys, on what you'd love to see, but for me, it's great maps and it's a good rank play system. But maybe that's too much to ask for.
Do you want me to go first? Or
Yeah,
do
you can go
Probably.
first.
I want them to. Okay, you know how some years they'll bring in like watch party ability, so you can just like watch the games from just like the main menu.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
CDL. Like
Yeah.
I want like things like that where they take a step forward a certain year to not fall back the following year. So it's like all the good things from Cold War, if you could mention any. Uh Anyone got any quick Cold War?
Wait, what were you talking about? Sorry, I was reading that. I was reading
Okay,
what credits
okay.
said.
You know how I just lost my headphones. Essentially, I
Good.
just want them to not discard things that go well in previous years and to like pile them on into one game. And so it's like things like Watch
Okay,
Party,
yeah,
a
interesting.
good league play system. Uh, I mean, those are
Well,
the two things that I
Cold War
really
has some
want.
throwback maps. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Sick
That's a
camos,
positive thing.
actual good team camos, rewards for ranking up, reasons to play pubs essentially, so that we don't lose that like core fan base all to Warzone, and so we can actually keep like multiplayer, in the limelight somewhat. And so things that can reward players for doing those things, I think will push players who are just strictly on Warzone to play both game modes so that they can, progress their skins, their upgrades, everything like that. And then things like Watch Party, things that they like forget about year to year, to like pile on and continue these like upward trends rather than going up a year then down a year, stuff like that.
I think one other thing would be like, just to throw it in real quick, is game battles integration. That was absolutely phenomenal back in World War II, and Infinite Warfare had it as well.
Yeah,
And there was nothing better than being able to log into your account and just head on to game battles, search for a match, and then just join the lobby. It was phenomenal.
exactly.
Every Treyarch game hasn't had it. Hopefully, this title brings it back because that was great. Because even if League play was crap, even in World War II it wasn't, you could still hop on and play integrated game battles, and it was a much better experience for everyone. And I'm sure brought a load of new people in because you could hop on those integrated GB ladders and just world star people because they were garbage, which is what you want to see because it means that
Yeah.
there's new people coming into the scene.
And when you
Uh,
playing, wasn't it dedicated servers?
Yeah, it was on Denny's as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
which is ridiculous for public lobbies to have that. And it's like we
The
haven't seen that
Rambo
since World War
effect,
II.
maybe.
Yeah. And then having those ladders integrated, and like rather than having to use a third party website for competitive, you could just do it straight through the game. And it was sick.
I have a lot of wish lists here. I'll start with this. I want cash cups. I don't know if you guys follow Fortnite at all, but Fortnite has tournaments that happen actually in game. So you like sign up, then you can just play. Um, I think Call of Duty would thrive with like S&D cash cups, uh, just respawn cash cups, stuff like that just happens weekly. So it gives casual players like an easy way. Like right now, if you want to play a tournament, you would have to go to Game Battles or DMG or any of these confusing ass too many websites that we have, right? And that's how you would have to find a tournament to enter, and then you have to find a way to add the player, yada yada. What if the game just did that for you? That'd be great, right? It's in other games. Why not this one? I want a ranked system that is elo based and resets every 30 days. A la Apex, great rank system. Definitely think we need that instead of this 3-day ranked system that just is one confusing and two doesn't reward you for shit. I want camos right now. Camos, there's all these challenges, right? Why is there no challenges to get kills or wins in the ranked mode, right? Easy way to get people to play ranked, and then once they play ranked, maybe they'll like that better than actually doing that because then when you get the reward of ranking up, right? And talking about rewards, why don't we have rewards for where you place in the ranks, right? You place in the top rank, you get something that no one else gets. You get a blueprint that you can't buy, right? You need exclusivity to get people interested in it because people like collecting, people like ranking things up, people like being at the top and being in competition. So the more competitive we make stuff and not, ooh, you get to play. Here's a medal. Here's a participation medal. Like I hate that. So like the more competitive we make it, people think that would like gatekeep, but honestly, I think that would bring in way more people. So
Yeah.
those three things would transform the PvP experience for Call of Duty.
Yeah, rewarding people for playtime and being good. It's like you don't just get rewarded for being really good. Don't just get rewarded for playing a lot. It's like a fine combination in between. And yeah, I remember back in Advanced Warfare ranked play, what was it, Grandmaster? The kit
Oh,
you
Yes.
get
maybe.
for that was
Was
so
so
sick.
dope.
Yeah, and it's like only what 100 people got it per season or whatever. And it's like
Yeah.
things like that, the exclusivity for that. And then even if they did gun weapons or I mean, you can even do variants that have no stat changes, stuff like that. Just making your player as individual as possible on the map is like one of the funnest things to like look at while you're playing because it makes you feel like like a different level. But I was
You
going
could
to touch
even
on okay,
you can even do things where like you can like my favorite thing to do, and this is gonna age myself a lot here. World at War was you had I don't know if you guys ever played that, but you didn't rank up. You earned money, like in-game money, that you would use to buy stuff. So instead, do you know how like when you reach level 20, you unlock the MP5? Well, when you ranked up, you would get like $20. Oh, it was BO1, yeah, and
yeah,
and you
like,
would
Yeah.
and then you would buy like a weapon. So I wish we
yeah,
could you would get money for like winning ranked games or something like fake money that basically means nothing. But I wish you could like gamble that
yeah,
in the matches, and then like maybe you could use those points to buy some rewards.
yeah,
Whether it's like camos or
You used
like
to have wager matches, right?
customization.
Back
yeah.
in
It's
Black Ops
Yeah,
exactly what I was going to
1.
say.
That's
but
what it
wager
was.
Yeah,
matches, but for like not COD points, but like just something where you can get cosmetics. So then
yeah,
you get people locked into trying to compete to get more to unlock cool stuff. So
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel
Or
like you
even
got to
like
get creative.
yeah, and you can use that currency to like bet on matches and stuff from the league.
Yeah. So then you
Um,
start doing it for your favorite teams and players.
yeah,
Gotta
and
have
suddenly
find
you're
ways to.
loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was going
Yeah.
to touch on
State
if they
that
were,
turtle. Yes. Yes, that was
yeah,
my favorite, bro.
facts. When if they do integrate a like a competitive ladder or tournaments within the game for money, that would also just need to come after an anti-cheat. Otherwise, there's no way
Oh
to
my
really
God, you
regulate it.
imagine?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like
You would not be happy
$10,000
like that.
tournaments with no anti-cheat with like random pub players would be a travesty. So
Yeah.
we need some sort of if there's like a VAC bans, stuff like that.
I definitely think
Yeah.
cash cups would just be revolutionary. There's also one more I have too, but honestly, if you have a good rank system, you don't need this. But pugs, I want there to be the ability for like an FPL in Call of Duty. For those of you who don't know, it's like a ranked basically for professional players, so they can play just against each other. And if you win, you get more points. And then there's like so like it's big in CS. It happens occasionally in Valorant, but if you have a good rank system that can take its place. But if we don't, we need a way to have pugs in in the next game. Have to have a way to get the pro players to keep playing the game, keep making content for the game, right? So gotta get creative with it.
That's the thing right nowadays. There's so many games out there that are really good. I mean, we see Splitgate coming on the scene. We've got so much other stuff arriving. It's like there's an attention economy, which is everyone's trying to get your attention for as long as possible. And if Call of Duty doesn't do as good a job as they could do in holding on to that, then that's when we start to suffer, right? Because players go to Valorant, players go to Splitgate. Of course, players need their time off and stuff.
Halo.
But like, yeah, the Halo, of course, the Battlefield's coming out. Like all these other games, and every game is trying to outdo each other for how well they can maintain their playership. And you know, COD, they're not idiots, but sometimes I am concerned about the bureaucracy and the amount of levels of things that I have to go through to get things done, and whether what we'd like to get implemented actually does. But I think that there's obviously some good ideas out there, and I'm sure they know what they're doing. It's just hopeful that we get the right ones because we're not going to get everything, but if you give us the top three things on the wish list and at least at launch, and I think we'll take that.
Give us stuff that we can build on for years to come instead of getting like as you were saying before, like we would get something cool like the even something so small as like the World War II. You guys remember when you loaded into the game, you would be in like this like weird like home screen like world.
Headquarters, right?
Yeah, like even
Yeah.
like I just wish we
You
could
had
be
the 1v1
consistent.
pit in there.
Yeah, it's so much
Actually, there
fun.
was rumors that I was coming back. I'm pretty sure
I
for
hope it
this
does
title.
because there's so many like cool things from past games that just get lost. And then it's like if we could just be consistent and keep growing from year to year, it would be fucking great. Like, we'd be in such a better spot. But
I remember
yeah,
like in the headquarters, I used to like spend because first of all there was the firing range, right? So
yeah,
you could warm up, and
care
there was a load
packages.
of Easter eggs. I used to like
Yes,
Yeah.
spend so much time doing the Easter. I felt like an idiot,
the
but like there was
jumps.
loads of Easter
The
eggs. Yeah, with
jumping
the
one,
jumps,
yeah.
get on top of the thing, do the
Yeah.
jump. I used to actually spend time trying to perfect the jumps to get up there because then you could
Yeah.
find like the football, and then there was like
Yes.
you get the
And
awards.
that right there
And,
is
like,
where you hide the Call of Duty COD Champs trophy somewhere, and
oh
then you
my
start
god, baby.
advertising.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Imagine like
Yes.
everyone on top of the headquarters,
And
just
you're looking
around
for
the
the trophy.
trophy. And then like, oh, do you remember the screen that you could go to like there was a theater in the headquarters that you could like watch
Yeah.
the
Yes.
training things on. You play COD Champs on there. We can sit, I don't know. You could do so much.
They did
Stuff
do that
like,
for pro matches at the end.
oh,
That's where
okay, cool.
that's where I would
Yeah, I
watch some
remember
of
that
it.
actually.
And you
In
could
the game.
get the camos,
Well, would you
the
killed it? Like
yeah, well, honestly, like there's so many good things from like games when you go back and look, but it gets
Sledgehammer,
lost because
baby,
it's
come
not
on.
there. And
Hey,
yeah,
It gave COD like an MMO feel. Like it was crazy.
it was
Reminded me of
great.
Destiny a lot.
oh,
Great.
beautiful stuff. Well, that, I think, on that positive note, is a good place to end. Cracking show. Fantastic to get some announcements middle of the show. We just love to see that stuff. And yeah, well, we will be back this time next week-ish, maybe a little bit early if we can manage it, because we're going to have to preview champs, the bracket, predictions, favourites, all that type of stuff, which teams are even going to be playing, the exact format of things. I'm sure it's going to be crazy. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Any final words before we sign off for another cracking week here at twitch.tv/GG Breaking Point? If you guys are in the chat and haven't yet smashed the follow button, we'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, if any of you
100%.
guys are at champs, hopefully I'll be there. I'll say hello to people after Sunday, but I hope honestly we get as good of a crowd as stage 5 was, because Call of Duty is not like any other esport in this entire world when there is crowds. It is the hypest thing, and the future of Call of Duty is definitely bright when we get fans back and we can just have that environment constantly, because like just listening to the VOD of when like Chicago was playing, watching the finals when people were going nuts, like insane. So I hope we get to see a lot more of that in the future.
Agreed.
Fantastic stuff. Well, take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see this time next week for episode 31. And yeah, bye-bye to YouTube. And yeah, well, all that good stuff. Take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for watching as always. And we'll see you next time.